Oh boy, where do I even start with this? Schizophrenia is easily one of the most misunderstood and misrepresented mental illnesses out there. I've seen it all, from exaggerated movie villains to poorly explained and highly dramatized symptoms. Society has created this cartoonish version of what living with schizophrenia is actually like. And frankly, as someone who has been clinically diagnosed, I'm tired of seeing it treated like a punchline or a horror trope. In all reality, it is a fairly complex matter, which is much more grounded and human, while far less dramatic than most people think. Some depictions are actually closer to the truth than you'd expect.
It's Lorraine! It's Lorraine! Into the phone at the top of my lungs. What were you watching? Do you even remember? Did the pizza Oh! What happened here? Did you forget to take your medicine this morning?
But at best, it's a surface level depiction that doesn't really have the chance to be explored. So today, I want to set the record straight by telling my story and sharing my real experience with this condition so that I can hopefully clear up some myths and maybe give you a glimpse into what it's actually like. The first thing you need to know is that schizophrenia isn't a single, uniform experience with highly similar manifestations. There are countless ways in which people experience it. Some people primarily deal with auditory hallucinations, hearing voices or sounds that aren't there, which often urge you to change your behavior or engage in negative experiences. Some see visual hallucination, things that don't exist, like a constant, unending nightmare changing your perceptions. Kind of, not really. Sometimes people may experience that, but they can also be pretty mild, to the point where it can be as random and common as seeing a figure in a dark room. For a lot of us, it isn't even about hallucinations at all, but about patterns of thought and behavior, paranoia, disorganized speech, or unusual beliefs. While there has been growing study into the reasonings behind psychosis, as well as possible treatment and causes, most of the exaggerated behavior that you see are symptoms of manic or depressive episodes. While yes, this can lead to an almost hollowed version of schizophrenia, there are some of the more dangerous symptoms you can experience, simply because you can't be reasoned with at this point usually, when you fully believe your false perceptions are real. So if you've been keeping track, that's like everything a human being can experience at once, which is an absolutely insane matchup for a person to have. The first thing I learned from having schizophrenia is how absolutely stacked it is against the human brain. Like, I think the symptom list alone covers a massive portion of known mental illnesses, which is why it makes actually having it feel so odd. Personally, I've hit what I like to call the diabolical soup kitchen of schizophrenia. On one hand, I'm fully aware that the hallucinations I see or hear aren't real. I can intellectually recognize that they don't exist. But on another, completely separate channel, I experience delusions that I do believe are real. It's like having two different streams of false information pouring into my brain at once, fighting for control of my behavior. I genuinely think if any part of my experience or symptoms were missing, I probably would have gone mostly undiagnosed. To make things even trickier, my memory is heavily affected. I experience blackouts where I'm technically moving around and doing things as if I'm conscious, but later I'll have no recollection of it. This means that even though I'm aware of my hallucinations, my actions during an episode can be unpredictable, erratic, and completely outside of my control. However, not everything ends up being as dark as you're probably imagining. When you're able to look back at the experience, you can't help but laugh at yourself. Like the time I blacked out, wrote an ominous countdown on my wall, went back to bed, and then woke up terrified because I thought some mysterious stranger had done it. It was literally like I had a cartoon villain that could stop time. Like I said, it is a pretty ridiculous disease, so I kinda have to make a YouTube video about it, because there's nothing else I can do. Oh yeah, and that does bring up another thing. It's complicated and I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of it, but I was put on two medications. One for making me sleep on time and one for hallucinations. I've seen 3 therapists and none have recommended further medication, but some have to take something for life, some don't need meds at all, and some take them only once. You ever notice how for every answer you get with this disorder, you get another puzzle? Yeah, that doesn't stop either. For a majority of my life, I've been very functional. I genuinely cannot say if I did anything so ridiculously unordinary it warrants attention. That's because my specific flavor of schizophrenia is weirdly tied to my sleep cycle. If I stay awake for more than, say, a day, my brain just stops wanting to sleep. And that's when everything goes sideways. Even after I do manage to sleep again, my brain doesn't snap back right away. Once I'm in schizo mode, as I call it, I lose control of my actions no matter what. Which means that any caffeine-fueled all-nighters or random emergency situations can all tip me over the edge. Now, while on the outside, it seems like an affliction that wouldn't be particularly horrific, and to be honest, for me, it isn't that bad personally. If my disorder had any other triggers or methods of manifestation, they would have probably shown different symptoms at different times, resulting in different outcomes. Now, it's certainly not all sunshine and rainbows with the sleep thing. This isn't just inconvenient, it means I have to live on high alert. I have to plan my days and nights carefully, schedule my sleep like clockwork. Something as simple as staying up too late on a weekend can be dangerous. My day is literally a countdown timer of the appropriate time to go to bed. Now, while a strict bedtime certainly isn't impossible, having a variable to always account for is exhausting. For me though, the biggest hurdle that I have to think about is the future. Having kids, sleepless nights, crying babies, all of it is something I have to take heavy consideration of and careful planning with. To be completely honest with you, pulling it off seems incredibly nerve-wracking and scary. What if exhaustion pushes me into an episode I can't control? What if I do something harmful without meaning to? It's a terrifying thought. But weirdly enough, despite everything, I don't think I have it the worst. If I had to spin the mental illness wheel, I'd still probably pick my current state. Aside from this one hyper-specific trigger, I mostly live a normal life. The diagnosis helped me to understand myself, and I have learned to manage the best I can. What was devastating, though, was being diagnosed so late. If I had known as a kid, I might have prevented some of the damage, or at least understood what was happening sooner. But that's life. Sometimes we gotta stumble around. If the path is smoother, the journey must comparatively be rougher. But here's the thing. This is all happening while research is still ongoing, slow, and primarily incomplete. And while this research is important and progressing, the actual lived experience of schizophrenia is something innately misunderstood. Now, I'm not a neuroscientist, so I can't give you the scientific breakdown of what's happening in my brain, but I can tell you what it feels like. To end on a lighter note, let me share a few of my highlight moments from my episode. There was a whole slew of other misadventures that luckily played out in a light tone. For example, there was the time I genuinely believed I was homeless because I was sitting in a patch of grass that was literally 2 feet from my apartment door, or the time I became convinced I was a comic book character. These episodes can be bizarre, funny, terrifying, or all three at once. Luckily, most of mine have been short, maybe a few days at most. That's probably saved me from getting into even more trouble. Schizophrenia isn't a horror story or a punchline. It's a complicated, messy human condition that deserves understanding, not stigma. And if my story can help even one person see it differently, then making this video was worth it. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe.